Hi friends, welcome to English Study Point. Today in this video lecture I am going to talk about abolitionist movement. This movement emerged in the late 18th century and gained momentum throughout the 19th century. It was a social and political campaign that sought to end the institution of slavery and the slave trade. There is also an end to chattel slavery during this time. Chattel means personal possession. These African slaves are treated as possession or they are treated as object to be bought and sold. So this form of slavery is a type of slavery in which a person who possess enough money can own human beings and their offsprings as property, and they are able to be bought, sold and forced to work without wages. This movement is against practice of owning human beings as slaves. So it is against practice of buying and selling human beings as property. During this time there is formation of various abolitionist societies, such as the Society for the Abolition of the Slave Trade in Britain, which was formed in the year 1787, and another society or formation organization that was formed during that time was the American Anti-Slavery Society, which was formed in the year 1833. So these organizations brought together activists, writers and intellectuals who were determined to eradicate slavery and the slave trade. US government had officially sanctioned slavery from 1776 to 1863. Abolitionist movement was inspired by William Lloyd Garrison's newspaper titled as The Liberator. So this particular form of newspaper appealed to the moral conscience of its readers, urging them to free the slaves, and it also at the same time upheld women's rights. The abolitionist movement followers employed a range of strategies and tactics to achieve its goals. These may include grassroots organizing, public lecture, publications, political lobbying, and direct actions. And another form of strategy that these abolitionists adopted is that they started publishing newspapers, journals, books. So their intention is to spread message and build public support. So that is why they adopted these kind of strategies and tactics to achieve their goals. Prominent publications which include, so there are so many works which was published during this time, and these may include works of Frederick Douglass titled as The North Star. Harriet Beecher Stowe also published work titled as Uncle Tom's Cabin during this time. So in these works these authors vividly depicted the horrors of slavery. Religious arguments played a crucial role in the abolitionist movement, particularly in the United States. Many campaigners were inspired by their Christian beliefs and interpreted the Bible to condemn slavery. In Bible, the practice of slavery is against Christian values and morality, emphasizing the principle of treating others as equals. Abolitionists also made political and economic arguments. They argued that slavery was economically inefficient and hinder progress, as it totally rely on exploiting cheap labor rather than technological innovation. Abolitionist movement faced challenges and opposition from slaveholders and their supporters because they resisted the campaign, defending slavery as a necessary economic institution and a means of maintaining social order. The movement also faced violence and intimidation. Intimidation means dhamki dena. Many abolitionists faced threats to their lives, and also threat of physical attack was also given. There is another crucial event which happened during this time, which is categorized as sugar boycott. This is considered as one of the most successful campaigns for the abolitionist movement. Abolitionist movement is a kind of specific technique employed by abolitionists in the 18th and 19th century to combat and protest against the institution of slavery. Sugar boycott encouraged British people, especially women, not to buy or use goods produced by slaves in the West Indies, particularly sugar. So, this tactic focused on boycotting and avoiding the consumption of sugar produced by enslaved labor on plantations in the areas such as Caribbean and America. Sugar was a highly valuable and widely consumed commodity, and its production relied heavily on the forced labor. So, these forced labor are actually enslaved Africans who endured horrific conditions and brutal treatment on the plantations. The sugar boycott within the abolitionist movement involved a collective effort to refuse the purchase and consumption of sugar produced by slave labor. So, these abolitionists recognized that their consumption of sugar directly supported and perpetuated the institution of slavery, so they sought to undermine it through a targeted boycott. It was seen as a means of exerting economic pressure on slaveholders and slave dependent industries, hoping to weaken their financial viability. By abstaining from sugar consumption or actively seeking alternatives, abolitionists aim to demonstrate their opposition to slavery, raise public awareness about the injustices of the system, and encourage others to join their cause. Abolitionist societies and groups organized campaigns to promote the sugar boycott, distributing pamphlets and articles. By doing this, they want to detail the connection between sugar and slave labor. They aim to educate the public about the conditions faced by enslaved individuals and the moral implications of supporting the sugar industry. The sugar boycott in the abolitionist movement had both practical and symbolic significance. Practically, it aimed to reduce the financial resources available to slaveholders and minimize their ability to perpetuate the slave trade and slave labor. Symbolically, it served as a visible act of resistance and a way for individuals to align their consumption choices with their anti-slavery beliefs. This abolitionist movement achieved significant victories over the course of 19th century. British abolitionist movement succeeded in abolishing the slave trade in the year 1807 and slavery in British colonies in the year 1833. The Civil War ended in the year 1865. American South or Confederate states fought against the Union in the Civil War. There is Emancipation Proclamation issued by President Abraham Lincoln in the year 1863, which led to the abolition of slavery. So, this proclamation enslaved individuals in Confederate territory and declared them to be free. The Emancipation Proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves are henceforth shall be free. In the United States, slavery was abolished on 18th December, and abolitionist movement paved the way for the 13th Amendment to the US Constitution in the year 1865. This amendment formally abolished slavery throughout the country. In 1870, the 15th Amendment gave African American men and women the right to vote. During this time, or in this 15th Amendment, the female suffragettes fought against this, demanding that women be given the right to vote. Now, here I would like to conclude. So, the abolitionist movement left a lasting impact on society, transforming public opinion and mobilizing support for the cause of freedom and equality. It inspired future social justice movements and remains a powerful example of the power of grassroots activism in effecting societal change. Then with this video lecture ends here. Hope this video lecture will help you in your UGC NET English literature exams. Thank you.